All right. Hi, welcome to our ethics model debate. I'm Heather Paris. I'm going to start out because I picked the ethic model to start with. And the three of us had decided that we were going to kind of go with the same ethical dilemma so that we could weigh it against all of the different models. So our ethical dilemma was, should we make TikTok videos about social work topics? And the argument is that clients might think that it was about them. So, for example, I am somebody that wants to work with people in their relationships. So, if I had a client that came in for infidelity and then a month later I made a video about how to get past or get past the feelings after you've been cheated on, the client might think that that video is about them, even though it has absolutely nothing to do with them. So that's the ethical dilemma. Should we make TikTok videos about social work content, or would that maybe make our clients feel uncomfortable? So I did the ethics model. The first is to evaluate. So as a social worker, I like evaluating this. I feel like it would be, well, it would definitely be unethical to share any identifying information in the videos about my clients. And then the T was to think about which NASW code applies. And although I couldn't find any very specific codes about making TikTok videos, there was standard 2.01 ethical use of technology to deliver social work services. And of course, all of the regular ethics too, like confidentiality and things like that. So even though the video might not be about a client specifically, if they took it that it was about them because they had a similar instance, they might feel victimized by that. Hypothesis about consequences is the H, and clients could feel exploited if they saw a video that they think is about them, as I said. Another negative consequence might be that a client could develop a parasocial relationship with me or with one of us because they watch all of our social media content. So they instantly think that they have some sort of relationship with us because they know a lot about us from seeing us on videos and then meeting with us in person. And then I would identify who might be harmed. The client obviously could potentially be harmed because they might think that they've shared, that I've shared information about them. And I think it could also harm the client therapist relationship as well. Again, especially if the client starts to get that parasocial relationship in their mind. And then the C is to consult. And of course, I would consult with my agency to see what their social media policy is and speak with my supervisor about this for his opinion. But I also notice in the code of ethics that it specifically says create your own, like, I guess this is if you're in private practice and not attached to an agency, create your own social media policy and explain that to your clients. So the reason that I picked this model is because I just think it's easy to use, and because it's literally the word ethic, it's just easy to remember. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to Francine. Do you want to go next?
Yes, yes.
Thanks.
So for my model, I took the transcultural integrative model. And looking at that model, one of the interesting things is that it's kind of one of the newer ones. It's only about 30 years in. And this one is, from my perspective, the better of all of them because it actually incorporates a cultural perspective. It helps us to understand that one, we have to look at the facts, not the facts of the dilemma, but the facts of first in step one is like who's affected, um, who's being possibly wronged here, and how do you as a clinician weigh into it? Is it wrong to you based on your cultural lens, or is it wrong to the client based on their cultural lens? And so it's really step one is about analyzing that and trying to find out, is there truly a dilemma going on? And then it moves on into step two, where it starts to ask you to be able to do everything you did in step one. You've now got a dilemma, but here in step two, we really need to like continue the analyzation of the dilemma. We need to kind of do what the ethics model says, go back to our code of ethics, go back to any laws that might be governing, like in this example, social platform, social context, any laws that prohibit clinicians from posting types of this stuff. And I don't know that there is, but again, I can't stand on the fact and say I didn't know if I never took the time to look. So step two is super important. It's really helping you to weigh the pros and cons of this dilemma. Like, how is this truly ethically wrong? Like, and then once you've done all that, step three really wants you to go in there again and go back and ask yourself, like, what's the influence? What do I gain as a professional by either acting or not acting? What does my client gain by me intervening? It really helps us to understand anything that we could consciously or unconsciously know. And I say that because in step three, it really helps us to feel confident when step four comes. Four is the final one. It's talking about creating a solid plan. It asks that you construct a concrete step-by-step plan on how do you do that, how you're going to carry out your decision, i.e., I'm not going to post videos. Well, I thought maybe a concrete plan might be to do like one last fair goodbye video if you're already posting, maybe a summary of the direction you're headed into moving forward, like some kind of wrap up if you've been posting. So that was kind of like a concrete way of planning like your end of it all. One of the things that step four says, and us social workers know fairly well, is that you would document, document, document. That's how you would end your decision making in this, that you've done everything to the best of your ability. And the reason why I truly feel that this model is superior to all the models is because it holds us to the ethical standards of the NASW Section 6, where it says that we as clinicians must be culturally competent. So I cannot say I didn't know my TikTok video offended you. That wasn't the purpose. That wasn't my intent. The code of ethics holds me liable to anything and anything known and unknown that could go wrong from a cultural component. And so that's why I think the trans cultural integrative model is superior to all.
I think you made some really, really good valid points. I really liked your presentation. But I think my favorite thing was like, it's such a good idea to, like, for me, I mean, we are working on this example because it's a real life thing that I know so many people, including myself, have had to deal with. And I love the idea of just going on TikTok and making a video and saying, hey, I'm not going to make this kind of content anymore. I'm going to instead do this or not do anything at all. I think that's a really great idea. But also, I know we're kind of debating here. So also I'm thinking about the competence, the cultural, the the way that young people use social media today is part of their culture. Do you know what I mean? So I almost feel like it being on social media, especially on TikTok, is almost part of the culture here, at least here in America, and the people that I've dealt with in the past. So I don't know.
I may be like the one I chose was utilitarianism, the utilitarianism approach, and I liked it because it seemed like the ethics model and the trans integrative model, not convoluted, that's not probably the right word, but it seemed that you had to kind of put each dilemma through, like, you had to like, it was like a set of principles, and which is good.
Almost like a litmus test for them.
Yeah, like through all this stuff in the utilitarian model is kind of all just based on, um, is this is this for the utmost good of everybody concerned? It's just really simple. And it just talks about you know, kind of what we talk about in the code of ethics for the National Association of Social Workers was are we holding are we upholding each person's individual inherent dignity and worth of a person? And this decision that I'm about to make, is it helping all the individuals that are in my, stratosphere? The other models, just the ethics model, seemed like you had to it doesn't always base the decisions on whether or not from what I've read, it doesn't always seem like it based on the decisions on it's like based on a set of rules and principles rather than the consequences of the action that would happen if a decision was not made. And as far as the TikTok, I was looking it up, and I don't know, social media, especially on TikTok in particular, I think because of the anonymity of the internet, we might have good intentions by posting a video, say on bipolar, but it's like, like you said, Heather, it's like maybe a client was going to watch the video and they'll misconstrue our presentation, meaning like it has something to do with them. And so, and then like another thing is that we're not in control of people's comments. And sometimes the comments on TikTok and social media in general can be so damaging and hurtful. So that's the
I
only reason
agree with
why I would
that.
kind of stay away from that.
That's a good point too, that I didn't even, to be honest with you, I didn't even think about the comments, but they can be so polarizing. And if you have a client that watches your videos and loves them and has no problems with them, but then goes and looks in the comments and starts reading, and then that can be just devastating to some people, especially somebody that's struggling with mental health issues. So it's a really good point.
Especially, I think the younger the people are, like if you had clients that are younger,
Mhm.
they're so influenced by how many likes they get on Facebook, or I think Facebook's kind of passe, but
Yeah.
on Instagram, stuff like that. It's like
Mhm.
it's such a big deal to them,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's why like I stand by like my model, because I think when we think of our economy or the people viewing that social media platforms can hit state to state to state, different populations, I think that everything can, the smallest things, whether they focus on US, the speaker, the comments that are being put, what you're actually saying, what you're not saying, then people throw in what they think you're saying, I just think the whole piece of it is subject to go wrong.
But
Like,
Yeah.
it's
Betsy,
subject to go
I
wrong.
like what you were. Oh, I'm sorry. I
No,
like what
I'm
you were.
like,
What were you saying? Your model, I do like how it's holding us accountable to be culturally competent. So I think that's
I
super
like
Mhm.
that too, but then that makes me think, but to which culture? When you're talking about social media, you could have people from literally every part of the world watching. So how
yeah.
do you be culturally competent to everyone? Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of times cultures collide.
Well,
What is right for one culture is not for the other. So
The problem. That's the
yeah,
that's
problem, where these dilemmas. So in my model, in step one, it's not saying you have a dilemma. In my model, step one is really analyzing, do you have a dilemma? Because you can easily not.
right.
So it challenges you to decide if you're making it one.
Yeah, right, exactly. I
I,
almost
no,
feel like the three should just be kind of like molded together into one, and that would be perfect.
yeah.
I like that.
I found this approach because I don't think it's in our readings. I looked through the readings and some of them like, oh, it's just like, you have to like go through all these checks and balances and adhering to this principle and that principle. And the one that I chose was just because I thought it was superior because it's just kind of, it's the most altruistic model
Mm,
in terms of just uphold safeguarding the client's best interest and upholding the dignity and worth of a person. Um, so it's not. I think that I liked it because that was the only thing that I had to keep in mind,
mm.
versus, am I adhering to this ethic, this principle? So I don't know.
That's why I liked mine, because it was just easy. It was easy to remember. I like
Yeah.
acronyms. I like
Oh
things
my
that are really
God.
easy to remember. So I don't know. I think we all did a really good job though tonight.
Yeah. Thank you
So
so much.
does anyone else want to add anything before we go?
No, I think I'm good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Well,
want
we'll stop there. Thank you so much.
the professor to tell us after she watches this who is the winner.
I know, right? We can keep talking because I can trim this part off now, but we'll, yeah.
Okay.